Coming up on this episode of Design to the Nines, do you like rustic farmhouse decor? Do you love Magnolia Home decor? Well, on this episode, I'm going to show you how to knock off this wooden cake stand from Magnolia Home, and we're going to do it for a tiny fraction of the cost. So if that sounds good to you, stay tuned. Welcome to Design to the Nines. I'm Natalie Callahan, and if this is the first time we're meeting, welcome to my channel. If you enjoy learning about DIY and home decor, then I'd ask you to consider subscribing to my channel below and turning the notifications on, because I bring you weekly tutorials on these topics, and I'd hate for you to miss any of the episodes because we try to have a lot of fun on here. So this week I'm going to be doing a knockoff of a Magnolia Home cake stand, and I'm actually going to make two of them so we can do a tiered effect. And I'm going to make it two different ways, and you'll see why in a minute, because I wanted to give you two options. Now, I feel a little guilty in doing a knockoff of Chip and Joanna Gaines because they are so, I just like them, and I mean, I don't know them personally, but I want to send them business. But I thought it might be fun to see if I could recreate the same look on a tight budget for those of you who may not be able to splurge on a Magnolia Home decor piece. So I popped on over to their website and I found these really adorable cake stands. I decided to knock off this one because I really liked the scalloped edge. I liked the metal versus the wood, and I thought it would be a really fun project to see if I could get the look for less, and I think that we can. So we're going to do this two ways. If you look at the edge detailing on the original piece, it's actually made, I believe, from plywood, because you can actually see kind of the layering effect on the edge of the cake stand. By me doing it this way, the larger one, I think it's going to actually end up being a little bit more authentic to the original. If you have some plywood lying around, this will be the less expensive option. So I had some scrap woods left over from building my bench, and this is one of the pieces, and I'm actually going to use up pretty much every last drop of my plywood over the course of the next couple of tutorials. I'm actually going to cut two, and you'll see why. So I measured and found some bowls in my house. So look around, you might find the right thing, and that will help you get a perfect circle. So we're going to go out and cut this out with our jigsaw, but I'm going to work slowly. And then if we have any rough spots, I'm gonna just sand those down. That is for somebody who has a jigsaw, maybe has some plywood sitting around or can get their hands on something. For those of you who don't and are a little intimidated by using a jigsaw, I have not forgotten you, and we're gonna use a pre-cut round. So each of them has their kind of pros and cons, and I'll go over that as we go. But before I get started cutting out our circles, I wanna ask you to stick with me to the very end, because I have got a special bonus project that is super easy, super affordable, and super cute. So stick with me to the very end and I will have that bonus project for you. Now let's go cut out our circles. Our circle turned out pretty good. There are a couple of like rough spots. So now I'm going to take my electric sander and sand it all down nice and smooth, and then also do a good sanding on the top. So I've got my two circles cut out and sanded down. This one is my top one, and so I was a little bit more particular with this one. It looks pretty darn good in my opinion. And then I cut out a second circle. This is about a ½ inch smaller than this one. We are going to be gluing this to the top one, and then we are going to be doing that scalloped edge detail. I thought that that would make the scalloped edge detail so much easier to apply on this one, and so that's why we have two circles. This is the underside of the top piece, and we're going to put both rough sides together. We're going to attach this to the top. So first of all, we're going to put on our trusty E6000, and this is really good. We're going to use this again, so keep it close by. And then just for some immediate stick, we're going to put on some hot glue. Then we are going to flip this over, and we are going to just make sure that it is centered This is a candlestick that I got at Michael's. We're gonna find center on this. Trace it so we know where it goes. And then we're gonna do the same thing with the E6000. I thought about using nails and stuff, but I think we're gonna be okay with this. And some hot glue for immediate stick. Flip it over and squeeze it down and put it right where it's supposed to be. All right, that actually, I'm surprised how good that sticks. So now we have a cake stand, which I'm actually pretty excited about. It looks really good. We need the really adorable kind of metal scalloped edging. So this is my very affordable, and hopefully it's gonna work out. I have a good feeling about it. I picked up some tongue depressors. You can get these at the Dollar Tree. You can get them pretty much at any craft store. We are gonna make the scalloped edge out of popsicle sticks. I'm actually really quite excited about this. So I've decided to apply these first and then paint them after. And we are going to measure 1 inch and make a mark. And what's cool about these tongue depressors is you can take a cheap pair of scissors and just cut them instead of having to use a saw. You can use a saw. And so then you can see there will be our scallop, and that will look really cute. I'm gonna do a whole bunch, a total of 48, but I'm gonna cut 24 of these. So we've got a pile of tongue depressors cut out for scalloped edge. I'm gonna use a little bit of E6000 and a little bit of hot glue to attach them. We're gonna make sure we do the smooth side out, and just a little bit at the top, and then a little dab of hot glue for some instant stick right underneath that lip, and hold it down. And then we're gonna just go all the way around. All right, so I finished applying my scalloped edge, and overall I'm really happy with it. I'm gonna set it aside for a second and let it set up a little bit longer. But then I'm gonna take some spackling, and I'm just gonna kind of fill in the gaps a little bit, and then we'll sand it down and paint the scalloped edge. But I don't wanna mess with it while it's still kind of freshly drying, so I'm gonna set that aside, and we are gonna do the smaller version. We are gonna start out with this 8-inch round that I picked up from Michael's. I got it 50% off, it was $3. Same with these candlesticks that I'm using. They were 50% off, being $3 a piece. And so similarly to this one, we are going to find the center and then attach this, but then we are gonna do the scalloped edge on this one. I'm worried that because this is on an angle, that they will kind of cave inward like that. So we're gonna have to do something to keep them upright. Again, it's gonna be just the same process as before of hot glue and E6000. Yep. I think what I'm gonna have to do is I am gonna have to definitely do something here to keep it the way we want it. I was afraid of this. So yeah, we're gonna have to do this all the way around just because otherwise our scalloped edge will cave in. I am covered head to toe in glue. So the hard part is done. We've got our scalloped edge on. You could leave it alone and leave it just like this and paint it up and stain it and call it a day. I want mine to be a little bit more smooth, so I'm gonna actually take some joint compound since we're painting it. If we were staining it, you'd wanna use wood filler, but I'm just gonna use some of this spackling, and then we're gonna let this dry. You don't have to do this step. I just am doing it because I want it to be as close to the original as possible. Let it set till it's completely dry, and then I'm gonna sand it down. I am so thrilled with how these are turning out so far. They are so cute. But I do have to tell you, I think the easier way to do this, believe it or not, is to cut the 2 rounds, because trying to brace this so that it wouldn't cave in on an angle was very tedious work. So having the other circle behind it, I just think that that's the better way to go. And it's also the cheaper one. But we learn as we go, and if you don't have the jigsaw and you've got time, it's gonna have a very similar end result. So I think that that will be good. Now it's time to give the scalloped edge that metallic bronze finish that was on the inspiration one. I'm gonna be using Craft Smart Onyx in the premium metallic acrylic paint. And this was like $1.79, not on sale. I'm just gonna brush this on. And again, if you wanted to tape this all off and use spray paint, you could, but I'm just gonna go ahead and paint the scalloped edge, just being very careful. Our scalloped edge is dried, and honestly, I think if I were to redo this, I would probably go ahead and use the spray paint. I think it would go a little bit faster and also give like a little bit smoother of a finish. But I'm okay with this, and we're gonna go with it anyways, unless I change my mind. We'll see. So for right now though, we need to amp up the Farmhouse Rustic on this wooden cake stand because it's by Magnolia Home. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this same Kona colored gel stain that I've used for the past several tutorials. I still have a ton of it left, so we're gonna do this very dry. So I'm gonna get some on my brush, and then I'm gonna wipe a lot of it off, because if you compare it to their cake stand, they just gone in and kind of just dry brushed very subtly. And so that's all we're gonna do here, is keep it really subtle. So I'm done giving the rustic vibe to the tier trays. I've done antiquing them. I'm really happy with how they turned out. I'm gonna let it set a second before we put our polyurethane on. But I wanted to do that really quick bonus project that I promised you. Honestly, this is so easy. I don't even know if we could technically call it a project, but sometimes the easy projects are the best ones. So I have this piece of scrap wood just sitting around, and then I picked up a package of those metal words from Dollar Tree that you're seeing probably all over the place. And I am just gonna attach this to it, but first I wanted to go ahead and give it a nice dark stains, and we'll let it dry. We'll put some polyurethane on it when we do that. And then as simple as gluing the word onto the block of wood, and boom, super inexpensive, easy decor that cost me like 30 cents. Okay, so I want to protect the finish, and so I'm gonna be using this premium spray enamel. This is not gonna be food safe, but I don't feel bad because the original wasn't food safe either. Just put something down underneath it. Just some sort of separation between your food and this. And we can use this for decor display. We can use it for cupcakes and cakes. My Magnolia Home cupcake stands and cake stand is done, and overall I'm very happy with it. And I'm gonna be using this all the time. It's perfect for fall festivities coming up, as well as Christmas if you have more of like a farmhouse rustic Christmas. I think I've got the finish of it pretty close to that of the original. So actually the bigger one actually came in a little bit less expensive. I'm gonna call this one $5. And this one is more like $8 versus $28 and $40 respectively on their sizes. So we did really good on budget. I might actually make the little bit bigger version so I could do the 3-tier tray. What do you think of it? Do you think it's a pretty good dupe? Let me know in the comment section below, and also let me know in the comment section below if you would like to see me do something a little bit more glamorous, a little more blingy, with a little bit more sparkle. This one's definitely rustic, wooden, farmhouse vibe, but I think I might be interested in making one that's a little bit more glitzy and glamorous for the winter months and the holidays that are coming up. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for next week's episode, which is the ultimate fall wreath playlist that I'm co-hosting with Kristen Kay. Come check it out next week. We are going to hopefully have so much inspiration for you. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd ask you to consider subscribing to my channel below and turning the notifications on, because I bring you weekly tutorials on DIY and decor. and I would love it if you joined me. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.